Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge, and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2023 Honda Classic. This is going to be an all-in-one show. I'm going to get you with a preview of the course and the field. We're going to talk about some of the bets that I'm looking at, even though I feel like the betting's a little not as exciting as I was hoping. And also, of course, get you all my picks from a DFS side. We're going to cover real quickly a recap of the Genesis. And again, everything you need to know about the Honda Classic. So give me about 30 to 40 minutes. So with that said, thank you for stopping by, and let's go talk a little golf. All right, so again, a great tournament. You know, we had that designated field, which has really going to affect the Honda. We're going to talk about that. But, you know, Jon Rahm, again, plays amazing golf. Maybe not the greatest off the tee, but with his irons, the best he's ever done in his career, gained over 11 strokes. And, of course, second in putting. You put that lethal combination together, you are going to win a golf tournament. And the mental side, you know, he held tough. Yes, he had a couple breaks. We'll talk about that. But all in all, you know, it was a great battle between him and Homa. Of course, me personally, as you guys probably know, I'm a Mad Max fan. And also, you know what? I feel like Rahm, you won enough. He's won 5 out of the last 9 tournaments he's played worldwide. Let's share a little bit. I mean, almost a lot like Tiger. It's getting to that point. At least this year, you know, it seems like Rahm is mentally got over whatever little putting woes and the questions and maybe having kids, that he is just firing on all cylinders. And it could be just bet Jon Rahm going forward here for a while. Who knows? We'll see. And then, of course, Tiger, you know, I will be the first one on my side to admit that, you know, I for sure did not have him making the cut. He did make the cut. Now, you know, I'm curious if the PGA might have figured out a way to move that cut to +2 if he would have been there. But he birdied out the last 3 holes to make the cut at +1. And played really good golf. I mean, you could see he's figured out a way to have that swing speed and distance. You heard enough about that, I'm sure, from Chambly and all the guys covering it. The putter, what I saw, is still the issue, which is kind of amazing. You would think the one thing that, you know, he could practice all the time, as he's got all those putting greens at his home and all the different, you know, grass types, that would not be the issue. But honestly, that was my opinion. And I didn't look at the strokes gained putting, but I'm guessing it wasn't too grand. But the guy played great golf. My hat's off to him. You know, you can see the body finally kind of affected him come day 4. But that's a lot of golf for him to walk, for so many things, for his foundation, for the Genesis, for the tournament, for what they're, you know, battling with Live. Hence, you know, it has a tournament coming up this weekend. And funny enough, while we're on that topic, I look, right now I don't see any betting, at least through Draftkings. And they don't have a DFS, which last year they were doing all that. And it's kind of interesting because I think we just lost Brennan Steele also over to the Live Tour. And, you know, their fields, compared to what we're going to be seeing here at the Honda, they're pretty smart on how they kind of scheduled their events. At the Mayakoba would be, you know, I would probably, sorry to say, would probably do more on the betting and DFS side there a little bit, because we do have historical information at Mayakoba for those guys. But anyways, long story short, good tournament. You know, the last thing I was going to talk about was, of course, Rahm got a couple breaks that us amateurs would never see. And of course, it was on day 2 where he eagled, you know, the hole. I can't think of the number of it, but 17 could have been it. It doesn't matter. Where the grandstand, you know, if you saw the shot, you know, you hit a big, huge slice, it would have been, you know, maybe not the easiest up and down. Worst case, probably would have parred the hole. Instead, it hit the grandstand wall, kicked within 2-3 feet, and he made the eagle. And so I've always said in golf, you also need to get some breaks. He also had one, I don't know if it was day 2 or day 3, where he hooked the driver. It went over the, you know, the temporary fence where they had a bunch of stuff stored for the tournament. And that thing would have went forever, I believe, and easily could have made a bogey there or whatever. And, you know, got a nice drop, got to hit another provisional, even though he knew that he wasn't going to be OB, and didn't have to even find a golf ball. I don't think they ever even looked, because, you know, there was cars and all that over there. It doesn't matter. Long story short, he got some breaks, but he played amazing golf, firing on all cylinders. And I'm probably maybe a little bitter, as some people are, because from a betting perspective, I had a lot of guys that were, you know, making the charge at Homa. And of course, you know, Rahm goes out and does what he does. He is a finisher. And with that said, of course, you know, some of my picks, I had Homa, Will Z, you know, Patrick Cantlay, funny enough, I was terrified of him, but, you know, he came out of nowhere, really put a game together, and it was continuing. But Will Z, you know, if he could have kind of put a little better, you know, earlier rounds together, had an amazing, you know, Sunday. Keith Mitchell was one of my picks. As Thagala, same thing as like Will Z. You know, I watched quite a bit of what Thagala was doing day 1, day 2. The guy was not hitting a fairway anywhere. It was all over the map. But, you know, still was able to pull out, you know, a 6th place finish. Jason Day was one of my picks. Also a really good Sunday. And Harris English was kind of like the unsung hero if you we're playing showdown finale. So if you had like an English day, Thagala Will Z, you made some really nice money. And then of course Shane Lowry I threw in there at the end, who had just a steady tournament. Nothing that I remember was like crazy where he shot 7 under one day, but just kind of 3-4 under, plotted along. All right, so let's change gears. We are at the Honda Classic, and this is the last year. This will be called the Honda Classic, and we're not sure we'll even have a tournament during this time. If this is the last time at PGA National for a while. It was announced that Honda and the PGA have, at least separated ways for this tournament. I know that they have the Honda for the LPGA too going on at the same time, but it's kind of sad. I mean, the PGA National, from a DFS perspective, I kind of like the higher scoring. It's kind of funner to watch, but it is, it's a test, and it's a reason why this field in the past hasn't been that great. Was because I think guys just were like, I'm not going to go and shrug it out at PGA National. But this is now, when they probably saw where they landed with 2 elevated events, and 2 elevated events, you got API and the players after, all the guys are taking this week off, unless you got a couple of the European, like a Lowry who just came over not too long ago. And so that's bad. It's kind of sad. It's going to be weird. We'll see how it all shakes out. But for sure, this is the last Honda Classic for a while at PGA National, maybe forever. With all that said, of course, we are flying across the country, going from the West Coast to the East Coast, Lower East Coast, and we're back, and now we're starting to Florida swing. We're going to Palm Beach Gardens, and of course, playing PGA National Champion course. This tournament was hosted here since 2007, and it was original Tom Fazio, and then redesigned quite a bit by Nicholas over the years. So, a lot of people just call it a Nicholas. Of course, you got the Bear Trap. We're going to talk extensively about that. But it is a par 70, only 2 par 5s, ton of par 4s, 4 par 3s. And it's a short course, 7,100 yards. But I mean, it plays, I think, a lot longer than that, of course, because you have these long par 4s. All of these par 3s are long. So for a par, for 7,100 yards, it plays quite long. We're Bermuda across the board fairways. You got 2.5-inch Bermuda rough. A little different thing. I just put that rye over seat. That wasn't last year, so a little nuance. And the rough is up a little bit comparative. I think it was 2.25, so a quarter of an inch, whatever. But just side note. And we're on TifEagle Bermuda greens, which there is quite a few places that these guys will put on a TifEagle Bermuda. And I've got some custom stat models done for that. It is a player field of 144 players, so a little less than the 150, ish. We're back to still at T65 in ties. And historical cut line is somewhere between +2 to +6. I'm kind of curious with this field what that's going to do. And what I mean by that is, I think it's going to lean more towards the +4, +5, but also, weather will dictate how that all happens. Some of your past winners, of course, I've got a little bit on this. Seb Straka beat out our buddy Shane Lowry. And I think I have a picture here of him looking in the sky. If we remember correctly, on 18, Seb got to drive his ball. And then literally right when Lowry got to the tee, it just this crazy cell opened up. And I think it only lasted like 20, 30 minutes. But it just downpoured. And Lowry at the time, I think he was really frustrated and just said, it's the worst break in golf he ever had. Anyway, so that happened, of course, last year. You had Matt Jones, which, funny enough, I was a bit on at that time. And, there was wind that was forecasted. And if you remember right, he went out, I think he shot 61 round 1 and some crazy winds and just like blitzkrieged the field. Nobody else came near that for that opening round. Yeah, Sunjay M went at 6 under, and who missed the cut. Funny enough, I played him in 1 and done last year, and I couldn't believe it when he missed the cut, especially again out of that field. Then you got Killer Keith, who, stated at the Genesis that he hasn't played the Genesis for a while because he would always go and prep for this event, of course, to try to defend. And, really out of you got Straka and M here for past winners, but Matt Jones and Keith Mitchell are not in the field. Of course, Matt Jones now on the Live Tour. Very large greens at 7,000 square feet. I always tell you guys, average is around 5,500. You got 60 sand bunkers, so quite a bit of sand. Funny enough, that number went down since last year. It was 67, so somewhere they must have combined or taken out some sand. So I did notice that. And you've got 15 holes, so just a ton of water here. If you watch this event, this and the 3M Open, I think, are the two. And TPC Sawgrass got quite a bit of water. But I think this course actually has to lead out of 15 holes. So 15 out of 18, you've got water that comes into play. And the greens are running at 12, typically fast to lightning. And of course defense I just mentioned. You put water and wind together, it can make a deadly combo. You got this Bear Trap that's a par 3, par 4, par 3. And I think I just put maybe, and this is 2020, just 16 players finished under par for the 4 days on that. And you got, you got to be a good putter here, large, undulated, sloping greens. And then again, they've got these 4 par 4s all over 175. I think one reaches over 225, which we saw a little bit at the Genesis, some tough par 3s. PGA Nationals played as the most difficult scoring course outside of the majors over the past, 5 out of 7 years. So again, back to why I believe some of the guys just kind of said, I think I'm going to pass on that. Also, you had like the API and the players that were always coming after this, so guys typically wanted to play in that event. There are just 4 holes with a scoring average under par on this course, and that's including, of course, the par 5. So you kind of, I think, start out pretty early with a par 5, and you kind of end on a par 5. And opportunities. We'll go with a scorecard to kind of go through that. But at the time, I really did like, as I mentioned, Aussies. We had, I think Adam Scott's had a pretty good record here. Of course, you also had Matt Jones. I've always kind of liked Cam Davis, which is in the field. We have to talk about him. But guys that can control the ball flight, typically, you are off the Atlantic Ocean, at, pretty close to, and, you could definitely get some wins. And I just kind of mentioned Fleetwood and Neiman, which Fleetwood, funny enough, who's done and had, I think, one of his better chances to win his first event on the PGA on, the lower 48, kind of soil kind of fell apart. But it was towards the end, if I remember correctly. And also Neiman, but he's on the live tour. Just guys that hit a low ball flight typically would do a little better here because, like I said, we typically do get a little bit of wind. And I did look at the weather. It's so early. I'm recording this Monday, early afternoon. And but there is going to be some wind forecast. And nothing like ridiculous, but there'll be wind to deal with. Okay, so just some side little notes. Of course, I mentioned the bear trap. If you look at the Honda Classic during the Florida Swing versus the Players API, and then at that time, this is back, I'd be like, 2020 or 21, that workday at concession, ton of balls in the water. And if you're curious, look up guys since the 2007 timeframe. Daniel Berger pops up here, and I kind of mentioned this before. No one has, or I don't have a clue where Daniel Berger's at. I don't know if it's a back thing, if it's a live thing. I don't know what's going on, but he has tweeted out nothing in forever. And I've heard nothing from any of the PGA sources that I listen or look and watch. And so if any of you know what's going on with Daniel Berger and actually have a real good source, would love to hear that. Put it in the YouTube comments. But anyway, since 2007, guys that have managed this bear trap and went bogey free, of course, Keegan, but he's not in the field. Of course, you got a live player in McDowell. I'm not really worried about Daniel Summerhays. But anyways, Harris English and Russell Knox are in the field. Of course, Harris English, had a pretty good Genesis. And Russell Knox, someone that I'm a little bit interested in, of course, out of this field. And Ryan Palmer is also in the field. And you want to know people that have went over quite a bit, plus 40 since, again, 2007, playing the bear trap. Now, again, statistics, you got to take them with a grain of salt at times because, right, Ryan Palmer's probably played this event every time forever, same with like an Adam Scott. So hence, they had a lot more chances to do that. And then I just put this in here because, what a Florida Swing that Shane Lowry had last year, right? I mean, he had a chance to win the Honda, good chance to win RBC, just played great, even in the API. And that's all that's showing here. Scoring average was below 70, which is ridiculous. Top 15 finishes. He had 3 of those out of those events. So, again, good reason why we might want to play some Shane. Here's a good overhead view of the course. And again, all I want to show you here is just a ton of water, and you can kind of see how it runs along, double these areas where they put the ponds, but everywhere you've got water. And so, you do have to have control of the ball. And if you want a little more close-up look, right, you got this longer par 3 on 15, starts the bear trap. Again, this green is protected. We do see some guys, especially when they put that pin on the far right, get in the water here. And then again, you got to drive, but you got, traps here, so you can't go too crazy over this way. And again, number 17, again, a little bit of like, not a peninsula, but quite a bit of water again. And of course, Sunday pin placements are always a little tricky that they put on there. All right. So if you take a look at the scorecard, what you will notice here, or at least for me, is that I actually don't mind guys going off the back. And I've, heard other ways. But if you think about it, if you go off the backside, that's going to give you the ability to bring in this 17. And then you got this run 1, 2, 3, and even 4 that gives you an opportunity to hit that consecutive birdie bonus. So do I think there's an advantage? Yes, I like the ability because, if you tee off on 1, you could definitely hit it here, but it just gives you an extra chance, right? So you get to put the par 5s almost, it'd be nice if it would have been number 2, but would have really been kind of a difference from a showdown perspective. But it is, if you start off on one, it's a very gentle handshake, and then it gets a little tougher, and then you can see the back nine is definitely a harder nine than the front. So again, if you do showdown, don't get too nervous. If you've got guys that are starting off the back and they're struggling, the front nine is going to give them a little bit of some areas to get birdies. Yep, typical six bogey opportunities, and 1, 2, 3, 4, only 5 real birdie opportunities. The best hold, if you're going to get an eagle, will be on number 3. Of course, I pulled the scorecard from the PGA Tour this morning, and all these yardages match up exactly, so nothing to worry about. Nothing changes there. All right, so we talk about the skill set that you need to win the Honda Classic and what I'm focusing on from my larger stroke gain model. Ball striking, is number 1. Approach, and then I actually like the good drives over, doing, maybe distance and fairways. It just combines, and again, I'm not as worried much. You got a lot of forced layups here. You just need guys that have hit it 250, 275 at times, whatever it is that you need to get yourself a nice, shot into the green. So I go with good drives on this course, a bit like I've done at tighter tracks in the past. Putting, we're going to look at the guys specifically on Bermuda. Around the green, this proximity to the pin, 175 to 200, comes in 25% of the time, which when you see that number, hence you need good ball strikers. I mentioned there's 12 par 4s here. So I'm going to look at stroke gains just on par 4s. I'm not going to break it down by yardage. There's, I think, 5 or 6 at that like 4 to 450, but I'm good with just, guys that manage par 4s the best in this field. I am going to look at stroke gain on par 3s. I didn't break it down. I think I looked at just 175, 200. There's only one over the 225, I believe. You got one over 200, then 2 in this range. So again, the more stroke gain areas you put in, you kind of water down everything. So again, I try to slim this down a little bit. And then again, not so much worried about guys making birdies. Of course, we need that and we want that, especially from a showdown or a DFS. But overall perspective, we need guys that can manage it and limit the bogeys and the big numbers. So that is what I'm going to go with for the large model. And to kind of, always to kind of check that, we always look at the past winners and what have they done here very well. And, you can kind of see the putter has been pretty crucial. You don't see any red there. Approach is typical. And off the tee, maybe you don't have to gain as much off the tee. Of course, if you look at, funny enough, we start to look at the guys, Brandon Hagee, who actually had to put a bet in last year, and at this time he used to get great numbers. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Actually, showed up here. It was one of his best tournaments he's ever had. So you kind of got a mix here, right? I wouldn't put Matt Jones. I don't know. I would put him as more strategic. I wouldn't put him as a bomber, but Brandon Hagee's a bomber. And then you got like Russ Henley, Dave McCarthy, more of shot makers. Well, Dave McCarthy more around the green and putting, but my buddy Russ Henley, also not in a tournament. Chase Seifert, I guess he must be back on the Corn Ferry. Brendan Steele, I think I mentioned, I think we just lost him to the Live Tour. CT Pan, good ball striker. But you're not seeing a resemblance of, guys that pound the ball out there. You see more of tacticians, if you want to say. And hence, I like, again, around the green and approach. And then, of course, the putter you're always going to need. But if we look at last year's stroke gain analysis for past winners, what did these guys do very well? Substraka gained quite a bit off the tee, which is kind of a unique, again, for this approach. And then the putter was in Fuego. For Substraka gaining 6 strokes putting, I didn't fact check this, but I would have to say that's his best ever, maybe except for when I watched him in the Olympics and the International, it seemed like he went pretty well with the putter. But in a PGA event, I think that has to hold. Lowry did everything very well, just a little around the green, which I'm not worried about. Kitayama kind of probably showed up. There's Daniel Berger again. You got Noren in the field, Kirk. I think Mateus Schwab's in the field, John Hunt, Stewart. So quite a few of these guys down here. Sam Ryder is not in the field. I checked that out. Again, it's very typical. But for me, the way I'm leaning to sum this all up is I need guys just put it in the fairway, be good with the irons, and be good with the putter, and you've got something cooking there. All right, so with all that said, and you're going to notice here, this is DraftKings Sportsbook betting odds as of Monday. And I'm not happy about them. I'm actually pretty depressed that this is what we're getting. But I think without having enough big name guys, right, they're terrified. And they know that there's a really good shot for a long shot to hit here. Hence, you got like M, and you've got, it's how bad it is. I can't even think of the second guy, but you got like Billy Ho would be third. I'll find the other guy that is up there, like number 2. But you really have a field that, Sungjae M missed a cut last year. that a long shot could hit, and you can see Vegas doesn't want exposure to allow that. And I feel like just from a betting side, it's been really bad. They were loving, and right now Vegas and the books have to be love what's been going on with John Rahm because, right? I mean, worst case, so you bet John Rahm. Well, unless you're putting thousands on him, you're not really doing anything significant. It's a little different if you hit a 200 to 1 and you put $100 on there. That's a whole different ball game. So they're trying to limit exposure and they're kicking ass and loving it. And from a betting side, it's been a while. I keep going back to Cage Lee when he back to back. Seems like the longest odds we've had. And I don't even know what that was now, 150 to 1 or 2. It was up there, but it has been a while that a nice, and I say a long shot, I'm talking over 100 to 1 is hit. So anyways, back on the recent form. Sorry, I digress. Looking at the model that I put together, you can see the weighting right here. I'm putting 20% on guys hit the damn fairway and also the first cut of rough. That's what good drives is. It's not taking this. It just really focuses on fairways hit. We got approach at 20, ball striking at 20, putting at 10, bogey avoidance at 10. Those longer par threes. You got the par fours of 12 of them, and then around the green. That is the model and the weighting. If I look at the last 24 rounds, no filters turned on. This is just looking at the last 6 tournaments or 24 rounds of golf these guys have played, which now almost all these guys, this should be in the start of the new year, so January of 2023. And, you got Ben Griffin at the top who, I'm kind of interested in a lot of these rookies out of the Corn Ferry. They've been playing well because that's, kind of the best thing we've got going in this. Sanjay, funny enough, Sadoshi Gadire is just popping all over the place. If you've been with me for a while, we've hit Sadoshi Gadire, his first round leader, quite a bit back in the day. You got Bramlett, one of the bombers, Thomas Detry, who I was one of my picks for the Genesis, made another cut, was up there for a little bit, not up there, but he was shooting, I don't know, 3-4 under, and then kind of fell back, if I remember correctly. You got another rookie, Ben Taylor's been playing good golf. Will Gordon, who, once he got his card back, of course, he's got some pop in his bat. Hayden Buckley's been showing up. You got Danny Lee. I kind of put him as like a CT pan, just kind of plots his way around. Can make some birdies, though. You got Chris Kirk, very accurate off the tee. I'd put him more in the plotter range. Same with Russell Knox. You got Lee Hodges, showed up really out of nowhere for the Genesis. So again, if you had Lee Hodges, we're pretty happy. He did fall back as the tournament went on, but one time, I don't know if he actually ever led the tournament, was right there up there, of course, going into Saturday. Johnny Vegas been playing good golf. I've not been on him, but of course his putter's been a disaster. Davis Riley, I'm actually kind of interested in. Yes, he's not been playing that great, but man, he almost won the Valspar. This was a rookie that came out last year, and we were all high on him. That he just kind of has fallen back, but for the talent, and that he's actually had some exposure more to some of these courses, I'm actually interested. That 75 to 1. And then Matty Kuchar, which that's hard to bet him 28 to 1. And that's a lot of these guys. It's, the odds are really hard to stomach. And so we'll see where I'm landing on my bets, at least in the beginning. All right. So historically, of course, that's the next thing. So we had recent form, and now we're looking at it historically, how they done at this course. I'm looking over just the past 12 rounds. I think to pull in a bunch of data, again, would just not really make sense. Let's look at the last 3 years, or at least, that these guys played. And against my model right off the bat, you got Shane Lowry. Sepp Straka has done well here. But I know Sepp Straka, when it comes to, big boy, we think he drives. He doesn't really drive the ball that far, but he likes smaller courses. If you look at his stats, where he's shown up is like the RSMs and the RBC Heritages and stuff like that, where, I think mentally a lot of people, at least me in my early days, you just always thought of Sepp Straka as a bomber and should fit well on bomber courses. I talked a little bit about Ryan Palmer. His game, though, has just not been where Ryan Palmer used to be a couple of years ago. You got Alex Noren. You got Benoit Ann, who's showed up a bit. Great ball striker. Could be horrific around the green and putter. Billy Ho, like I said, I would be all over Billy Horschel. But, man, I've watched him since the start of the new year, and I am just terrified of what he's got going on lately. Harris English, nice showing. I can't believe they've got him at 35 to 1. I mean, the guy's been pretty rough. And, had a little bit of a showing at the Genesis, has a little bit of his history here, but Harris English has not played good golf. You got Taylor Pendrith, another bomber. Aaron Wise has really fallen out of favor, but again, at 25 to 1, where Aaron Wise, he's missing cuts left and right. You got Schwabe, Bryce Garnett, Cam Davis, also been in a crazy funk, but hey, man, if he's going to make a turn, I've been kind of like, I think I picked him last week for the Genesis, just purely that course should fit him, and you're waiting for him to get back to what he was like in the summer. And I don't know what's been going on, but he's been playing some rough golf. Sean O'Hare, my buddy Svensson shows up here. And then Luke Donald, where, you know, of course, the Ryder Cup captain. And if you need someone to plot around and typically good around the greens, a great putter, that's Luke Donald for you. Of course, a long time ago was world number one. Now, you know, one of the things we want to look at here is best ball strikers. And it's pretty rough, as in, again, who we got here from a list of players in the field. But if you're curious, Nick Harding shows up, Joseph Bramblett, Will Gordon. This is looking over the last 24 rounds, by the way. Again, focus just on the ball strikers. If you don't know what that is, it is taking off the tee and irons combined. Not worried about around the green or putting. It's just pure ball striking, hence the name. Johnny Vegas, Satoshi Kodaira, which is kind of shocking to me. I'm not going to lie, but he has been very accurate. You know, at 200 to 1, I don't know if they'll get any better. I think there's going to be some betting as the money comes in. Again, you know, why not? Benny Griffin, Sungjae Im, EVR I'm interested in. Charlie Hoffman's been playing a little better golf. Lee Hodges, Buckley, Lowry, Andrew Kozan, who I believe is still on the Korn Ferry Tour and has gets an invite here, if I remember correctly. And then Michael Kim, and then of course Knox pops up there again at the bottom, who's been really good with the irons. Just again, the putter, if it ever flips for him, he could win a tournament. All right, so here's something a little unique that I don't typically do, but because we're on these TifEagle Bermuda, it's a certain strand. You know, it's not that Champion Bermuda. There is 4 courses these guys play that's all TifEagle Bermuda greens and quite a bit around. So you know what? I did this last year. I thought, you know, I'm going to do it again. So the first thing is just looking at the model against these courses, including PGA National, where they're playing the Honda. So you got 5 courses of data. I want to look at just against my model how these guys done. And also, it's a bit of a comp course thing. But Sepp Straka, Lowry, Svensson, Ben Taylor, a lot of guys were used to Webb Simpson, still waiting for him to get some kind of form back. He's been broke for like 2 years. Paul Haley, rookie. You got Harris English, Billy Ho, Noren, EVR, Duffner, Duff Daddy, Eric Barnes, Moore, Aaron Ryan, Denny McCarthy. That's, again, this whole model. Then, of course, why I did this is more about the putting on these kind of greens. And Seabez comes up number 1, but again, it's been kind of struggling with the ball striking. Denny McCarthy, better ball striker, but it's always a great putter. You know, Kuchar, Straka, some you'll know. Shane Lowry, English at one time was on Bermuda, was just an amazing putter and still a good putter. Got Hadley, Trainer, Gay. Anytime you put Gay on Bermuda, of course, he's won there a couple times at the Bermuda, on Bermuda greens. Barnes, Vegas, Dylan Wu, Bobby Shelton, and Cody Gribble for the times that they actually putt on these greens or at these courses too, just so you know. Okay, now to expand it a little bit, kind of going to see a lot of the similar, but I wanted to add 2 other courses in. The 3M Open, as I mentioned, plays, I think, very similar from the water and how you have to play that course, but it is bent greens. And then I don't have the logo here, but also I threw in Sanderson Farms. That's a little bit about, you got to be very accurate at that course. It's very tree lined. It's a little longer. It's par 72, but also has Bermuda greens. There's some similarities, and the fields are very similar. So with all that said, I kind of threw that together just to add a little more and see how these guys come out against my model comp course. And a lot of the same names that I just went over. I don't think maybe Callum Tarrant, which, he was trash at the Genesis, missed the cut. Grayson Sigg also missed the cut. Anders Albertson pops out of there. I believe also a Korn Ferry guy. So long story short, it just gives you some names, but a lot of the similar that we've been talking about. All right, so I actually put this in here. I'm going to pop this up real quick. This was last year at this tournament, and it wasn't like the field was that much better. I mean, you had a day maybe in a Ricky Fowler, Fleetwood, but it wasn't like an amazing field. And this was the odds that you were getting on these guys last year. Brandon Hagee passed, came runner up here, and you had 300 to 1 on the guy. You had JT Poston. Now that's before his win at the John Deere. But I mean, you were getting him at 200 to 1. Roger Sloan, I actually looked into this. It took me a moment to figure out because he looks a lot like Patrick Rogers. But Roger Sloan, I have no idea where that guy went. He's not on the Live Tour. I guess he lost his card, and I didn't even look. Maybe he's on the Korn Ferry trying to get it back. But he was 251. There was some interest just on how he was playing. And, of course, my buddy Blackbeard, this course, he won the 3M Open. I don't know if he actually won the Honda. He might have because he's got 2 wins on pretty difficult tracks, but he's not in the field again, and I don't know why, but he's not 80 to 1. Then last year you could get Denny McCarthy at 55 to 1. So what I was getting with is that it's amazing from one year to another. And again, the field was maybe a little bit better, but it wasn't like, we had, top 10 out of 30 world, or, but you were getting just so much better odds a year ago at this venue. But with that said, you got to do what you got to do. And this is my betting card going in. I do have money on all these guys. I've already made these bets. You're going to notice a lot. I didn't bet anybody, even past 50 to 1 because, I kind of feel like that market will change a bit. Also, I'll try to live bet some guys. I'm going to take the long shots. This tournament will open itself up because we don't have the creme de creme, hence why the sports books, I think, are just terrified, as I mentioned. So, but who I do have, I got Ben Griffin, Ben Taylor, guys that I've been playing, definitely in Showdown and DFS. Why not? Get your first win. I think there's no reason from a ball striking perspective. The only problem is, they're going to be, I don't think any of these guys have actually played this course before. You got Knox, who's done pretty well. Again, the putter's disastrous, but maybe that flips. Davis Riley has, been missing cuts, but, last year was just a phenom and also has a driver, can putt. At least he showed it last year, almost could have won the Valspar. So, 75 to 1, yeah, give me talent. Same with Ricky Bobby, who got his card back, been playing good golf. I've been a fan of Bobby Shelton. EVR, had a great last year, and, we'll have that, crazy 8 under round, and then again, could go out and shoot 2 or 3 over the next day. So if EVR could actually put 3 or 4 days together, watch out. So why not 80 to 1? Brandon Wu, this was purely just, I've been watching this guy. He's a great ball striker, really, has a tough time with the putter. But, I like Brandon Wu, again, talent. Adam Schenk, we're going to talk a little more about him. I've got a slide that we can go into, but there's a reasoning why Adam Schenk. And then Richard Wierenski, if you've been with me for a little while, you know that I'm just kind of waiting for this guy. When I see the course that I know he can navigate, he's done well at the 3M Open. Not the worst track record here either, but he showed up at Pebble Beach. I think he ended up 20th. The one time I had no money or nothing on him. Of course, he kind of scared me a little bit. It's more probably of like a top 20 play, to be honest. But, 400 to 1. Last year was 500 to 1 for him. Again, what he typically does, it just kind of plots his way along. And if the putter goes, which you can see he has been putting pretty well, watch out. All right. So with that said, this was actually from last year when he was 500 to 1. He was my long shot, and it still is. Like I said, I'm going to go, and you can see, these courses. He had a 17th at Honda. There's Sanderson Farms. A lot of Bermuda. He's done well at the Wyndham, St. Jude. A good comp course. What's that? Mayakoba. The 3M Open's the one, like I said, where he really kind of came onto my radar. Him and when Michael Thompson won Blackbeard. So I've always kind of kept an eye on him just to watch how he played that 4 days. Well, the other guy that I'm kind of interested in over here is Schenk. And if you look at him, he's been playing. So he's made, if you think about this, I think at the Honda, he's made 3 out of 6 cuts. This is off the top of my head. And they're all been like top 30s, around in the 30s. And then he's also made, I believe, the last 3 or 4 cuts just recently here. And then this is pulling up where has he done his best. He still has not won on the PGA Tour. But you got Shriners, which is just a putting fest. It's it's Bermuda. It's a shootout fest. The John Deere, those are bent greens, but you have to drive the ball very accurate there. A lot of trees, a lot of slope in that one. Also, you've got Glover, who won there recently. 2 years ago now, and because you had JT Poston recently. So a good ball striker, and he's done well at the Honda. So there's some correlations. The Valeros, Bermuda. I mentioned Sanderson Farms already. The Zozo, which was just this past October. A 16th in a who's who field. Kind of the best of the best. In that kind of like no cut 80-person field. Anyway, so you know what? This guy will come out of nowhere. And like I said, been playing pretty good golf. So 130 to 1 to win. I took a long shot at it. So that would be my super long shot if you're curious. All right. So with that said, I think that's enough on the betting side. I got you the preview, a lot of course information. Let's go real quickly, go into the picks. And then I'll get you guys out of here. Okay, so I've hopped over into Fantasy National, and as always, we're going to be looking at the DraftKings pricing, but you can use these picks on any platform that you choose. And a plug again, if you've not tried Fantasy National, you can try it out for just a month. If you are putting money in, and you know what, I actually enjoy the analysis part, even though it doesn't always come to fruition, right? It's historical data. But long story short, if you want to do your own analysis or even check fact what I'm doing, go try out Fantasy National. I think it's the best tool out there for golf. And there's really not a ton of them out there. I know like Rick Gaiman's got one, and there might be a couple others, but I've just been using this forever, and it's just getting better and better. So what we're going to be looking at here, I've got no filters turned on as always. And what I'm giving you is this kind of what I call a dashboard or mini kind of view of everything you want to know. So you get the mini model. I kind of pick the the 5 top stroke gain categories. I weight those. If you're curious, these top 3 are around like, I don't know, 30%, and then these ones are like 15. I know some of you guys who also use this always kind of like want to try to match your numbers up to me. That's where you're about at. And instead of looking at birdies over the last 24 rounds, because this is not a birdie fest, it is a don't have an 8 or a 7 fest. So bogey avoidance is what we got over here. And then, of course, recent results and tournament history to your right. And that is the information. And, of course, you want to see green. Right now, you can see projected ownership, but, that's going to change so much. I mean, I guarantee M will be just super chalk. A lot of the guys at the top are going to be super chalk. But really, the way I'm kind of playing this is probably going to be, and I hate to even say stars and scrubs, but, it's going to be the more expensive, because I don't think any of these things are really stars. Maybe Sanjay AM and Lowry was like, funny enough, was the guy, even though I had him on my cover, that I was forgetting when I was talking. But your top 3 guys, you got nobody in 11,000. You only got 2 in the 10, and so you really got a lot of room to kind of do stars and scrubs the way I look at it. And funny enough, the 8,000 range for me was kind of a dead space. But let's go through this. So for my builds, what I'm going to be doing is quite a bit of like Sanjay AM and Lowry to start, and then kind of just plug it in. And I know usually I like to pick one or the other, but I've only got 2 guys, and they're the 2 best pretty much in this tournament. So, yeah, I mean, they both got pretty great records here. You can make a call, that, hey, Sanjay AM missed the cut here last year. It could happen again. Like we just saw, not a very good showing at the Genesis at all. The putter was disastrous. We can go look at that. But the guy's the best ball striker. He's just steady, hits fairways. Typically I tell you, I always kind of wait to play Sanjay until he gets Bermuda is where he putts best. But yeah, I mean, the irons, which is rare, were way off for him. Also, you got to remember, like I said, you had Rahm who gained like over 11 strokes with the irons, but the putter was quite a bit off. And you can see typically, I mean, if we do this and just go see where he's putted the best, I mean, 8 strokes at TPC Southwind at the API. Of course, that's Bay Hill. Funny enough, the Live will be playing at the old TPC White on their schedule coming up here. So the PGA does not play the Greenbrier anymore. That was a military tribute one. The Amex, you got again Bermuda, and I believe the Tour Championship East Lake is Bermuda. Let me just go click on it. I always forget if it's, Bermuda. Okay. Long story short, the guy putts well on Bermuda. So for me, I like the top 3 most expensive guys. And, I'm not going to make any apologies for it. The way that this is going to work is that you've got room and there's a lot of guys below. And really, when you get past the top 3, it's just, I think there's a lot of garbage. And so what's the difference between this garbage or that garbage, right? I mean, you got to kind of figure it out. So right out the bat, you can see if you're curious, Kirk has been kind of off and on, but of course he's won the RSM a ton of times. A lot of water there at Seaside, great comp course. So that's my 3 guys that I'll be starting off with. And of course I might have to not have one in it, but I'm going to be very top heavy. And then, for me, I'm skipping Billy Ho, even though I'm a fan of him, but you can see he's just been rough. Let's go take a click on Billy Ho. Even the putter, I don't think has been that great, but you can see usually Bermuda, and everybody, I think they were even talking like, well, once Billy Ho gets to Florida, watch out. Well, Billy Ho's got bigger issues right now than just the putter, right? I mean, you can see did not putt well at all there, but the irons and the driver, and I probably remember the Century a lot. Like he didn't know where the ball was going. I mean, it was rough. So could that all flip? Maybe his swing changes. He gets that, more comfortable with him. But let's just talk about it, right? If you have Billy Ho and he comes out the first couple days and, does well, how good do you feel if he's actually in contention on Sunday that he's going to trust these swing changes? So from that perspective, no, thank you. Alex Noren, I don't really have a problem with. He hits usually a pretty steady fade, that goofy little pre-swing, but a couple miscuts. A couple of miscuts here, but I mean, he's had a good showing and he's pretty steady. But you can see under the model, at least over the last 24 rounds of golf, not doing a lot of things, so I'm out on him. Now, Minwoo Lee, you're going to see a lot of junk here, right? That's Korn Ferry stuff. We don't have a lot, but Minwoo Lee has been playing really good golf. He's kind of an up-and-comer. You can look at the DP World Tour. I don't know if he's won recently there, but I know he's been up in the rankings. So I have no issue, but for 9,400, I don't even, has he, I guess I could have done this a different way. I apologize. Let's go back real quick. Yeah, he's never played this track in his history. So 9,400, I can't do it. I mean, I get that this guy could be a world beater, could be the next Tom Kim, but I got to see it before I do that. So I'm out on that. I'll go to Kuchar. I mean, who are you going to take? Kuchar, who's actually been playing good golf, has played this track, made the cut last 4 times. Again, this is looking at statistics, and again, I know this isn't pulling on what Minwoo Lee's been doing, but yeah, I'll go with Cooch. Aaron Wise, man, love to play you, dude, but it has been a disaster. A lot like a Cam Davis. Now, again, will I put a team together with a Cam Davis and an Aaron Wise? Yes, I'm going to put my ball strikers together and just see, but I'm not going to put them in like the player pool that I'm putting a ton of teams together for. I can't do it. Even though he was playing some amazing golf. Let's go take a look at that. The putter started to come around. It was all beautiful. We were all actually waiting for a win out of him. So yeah, if you look at the summer, I mean, he had a fifth, had a nice little FedEx Cup, a who's who at the CJ Cup at a 6, Worldwide Technology, the Houston Open. Yeah, the guy was playing good golf, but it has been rough. We also saw, it reminds me when Sam Burns, when everybody was waiting for him to get a win, and he, if I remember this correctly, we all were salivating in Florida, and then he went and won. I'm trying to remember this right. He went from like the West Coast to Florida, struggled, and then we came back to the Florida for the Valspar, and I was all over it, saying, "Hey, let's see." And he had good odds, and of course, he went out and won that tournament. It was one of his first. It might have been his first win ever. Neither here or there. That was history. All I'm saying is that I don't get too hung up on a few bad showings when ultimately overall this guy's career, he's been a great ball striker. Same with like a Cam Davis. It's just hard right now if you've been rostering him and dealing with it. All right, Dave McCarthy, he's got the ball striking going a little better. Right, had a good showing at the Wells Fargo at that PTC Potomac, which I guess is around his where he grew up. And the driver is not that bad. We go click on Denny McCarthy, an amazing putter, good around the green. And when I sit out the bat, not good at the Genesis, but also they're comparing against the other guys that are out there bombing it. But I mean, you can see here, he was gaining, but I'm looking for guys that are just hitting fairways. Off the tee is taking distance with fairways. He doesn't have the distance. You can see here, typically about, it's still not short, but 280, 290, but pretty accurate usually. And then, of course, the irons have been a little better. You can see here, and the putting, of course, is extremely good. Thomas Detry, I picked him last week. The guy's been a make-a-cut machine. Now, 9,000, hopefully out of this field, he can get us a top 10. If you're paying 9,000 to pay that off, he's got to do better. The putter kind of held him back, but you can see typically he doesn't make bogeys. Let's go look at him real quick. I just want to look at his stats. Bermuda has been his best surface. Of course, he's European. It looks like he's making a transition over here. So he gained, he gained a ton with the putter at the Genesis. It was actually the irons that kind of failed him around the green. Typically, like I say, he doesn't gain that much with the putter. I just want to see if anything pops up with the POA. As most strokes he's gained, at least historically, that we know in this Fantasy National. All right, Sanderson Farms, that's a good comp. The PGA in 2021, Kiowa. How could I forget that? Our buddy, Mr. Phil Mickelson, who won that. So again, that was Bermuda. Anyways, I like him. And then I'm kind of skipping. I'll skip Penderith. I'm not looking for guys with that, that's wild off the tee. Also, has not really showed me a whole lot this year. JT Poston, it's been a little wayward here. Not that this course can't fit him, but again, I got to make some decisions. And I want guys that are very accurate. You see also not doing the things with the irons that I want right now. Svensson's been playing good golf. I'm going to jump on that bandwagon, get back on it now. I'm not happy. Typically, Adam Svensson, I paid 6,000 low 7s. But again, this is that field. You just got to stomach it. And I'm going to get onto Johnny Vegas right now. You'll notice I actually had 22 guys highlighted. I just couldn't eliminate 2 of them. So I'm giving you 22 guys, and you do whatever you want with that. But that's who's going in my player pool. I usually try to do just 20. But Johnny Vegas has been playing great. The putter is what holds him back, always has. So, I think out of these guys, Johnny Vegas will probably make less of my teams personally. But, like I say, he's made the cut here, showing the last 5 times he's played it. And pretty decent golf, just that putter goes, watch out. Seb Straka, I can't do it. I know he's, had a great record here, won it, made some nice showings there. But I don't know. I'm just terrified of what I watched earlier on. So 8,500, I'm going to go ahead and pass on that one. Harris, maybe, who knows? Of course, you can see he's made last 4 times he played here, which was back starting 2020 and back. Had a nice show at the Genesis, but again, that driver's all over the map. You're gonna kind of notice that the guys that I'm playing, I gotta trust off the tee. Moronk, we talked about him. Did make the cut. He'll lead off the tee, but I don't need distance. I need you to hit fairways. Seabez, I haven't played this guy in forever. I'm not gonna do it now. Last time I was all over him, it was a really crappy feeling. I think they were playing like the RSM or something like that. The guy like missed the cut or whatever, so I was like, no. Cameron Davis was highlighted. I am going to play, as I mentioned. I'll put a ball striking lineup together. He will be in it. He's not making like the strong player pool, but you can see 3 missed cuts. But I mean, if you go click on Cam Davis, and he's got the distance, the accuracy can be a little bit, but I mean, look what this guy was doing back in the summer. I mean, it was ridiculous. Again, another guy we thought was going to get a win, had a good fall, and then came out this year, and I have no idea. I haven't got to see him. Like, they're not showing me any Cam Davis, no matter if I'm watching PGA Live or whatever. But you can see off the tee's been but the irons have been trash, and the putter, which the putter has always could be an issue, but used to be just great ball striking, and then you just dealt with the putter as it went. Garrick Higo, kind of back and forth on. He can get wayward with the driver. It shows the driver's been doing well. He's actually been playing really good golf. I've been playing him quite a bit. When I actually wanted him, as I mentioned at the Genesis, I'd have been interested in playing him, but he did not make it into the player pool, right? I mean, it's a little more tighter. They would have had to get to like what I mentioned, like 120 or less, and then he would have maybe got up in there in the alternates. Patrick Rogers, I'm kind of a little back and forth on. Probably he'll be also someone that doesn't make as many cuts, but again, with getting that ball striker, I mean, he had a really nice fall, and then it's kind of fell apart a little bit at the start of the year, but showed up at the Waste Management, had that crazy Sunday, don't forget that, shot like 8 under. That's really what moved him up. So yeah, a little leery on that. I am excited about Ben Griffin. I'll probably be playing, like I said, a lot of these new up and coming rookies. Of course, I'm betting these guys too, as I already showed. Stefan Jaeger, I don't have an issue, but the putter, it could be definitely the problem. Of course, he did make the cut at the Genesis. We'll go back to Bobby Shelton, been playing good golf. He's just my kind of guy. He's also a great ball striker. The putter, you're going to see that over and over. A lot of these guys, Aaron Rye, this is kind of a grinder's course. I think he would be a really good play. Not even a bad bet. I don't know what he's at. Probably 35, 41, maybe not enough. Well, I think it could be more than that. But anyways, it wouldn't be maybe made a bad bet. Of course, the putter is what's been holding him back. But the guy doesn't hit it long, but man, does he hit it accurate off the tee. It's 295, almost 70% accuracy. So off the tee has not been a problem. The irons finally fired at the Genesis, but been losing air and then the putter. Let's go take a look at where's he's at his best. The Farmers, of course. So you would think he would have had a good putting showing again on that POA. Got some decent showings on Bermuda right here. I don't know. Aaron Rye is definitely a play that I'll play. Lee Hodges, right? He popped up, had all his miscuts, and I don't know. I think it's chalk that I'm going to get away from. It could explode. Benoit, I'll probably put him in that crazy ball striking team. So that Aaron Wise, Cam Davis, Benoit, if I'm going to just go down with you just, either crazy upside or watch out, they could literally all miss the cut. Justice Saw, I guess I'm still not over you when you WD'd from the Pebble Beach. I mean, no reason you can't play him. Not my flavor right now, but we'll see. Right, he came out in that Morikawa era that just he didn't get the attention because he had Hovland and Wolf, and he just didn't do what those other guys did. Hayden Buckley, I kind of put him in that Lee Hodges bucket, but maybe it's Buckley's turn. Right, he missed a cut, so maybe Hayden should do well. Right, he had a good show at the Waste Management. If you're gonna put a bombers together, I think these two guys fit right in there. Where you can see very elite out the tee, ball striking, just kind of rough the short game. Out of the two, you see Bramlett's been playing better golf. Actually, on a shorter track, he had a T7 Pebble Beach. Will Gordon, right, struggled a bit here recently, but really came on hot in the fall swing. Nick Hardy shows up from a ball striking, and I'll put him in that ball striker, but man, the putter and around the green has been really rough. Ryan Palmer, no thank you. SH Kim's done it all with the putter, and you can't. I'm like, I can't have guys that are all over. I need guys I could trust off the tee. Danny Willett showed up at the Genesis. That's what Danny Willett does. Just you totally forget about him, and out of nowhere, yep, there's Danny Willett. Of course, only tournament ever won in the PGA was the Masters. So there you go. Figure that one out. Of course, he's won across the pond internationally, but I think it's just crazy. The only tournament he's ever won on the PGA or in our circuit with the majors was a major in the Masters. Told you about Davis Riley. I'm going to go there. I'm thinking I might get some ownership, hopefully, maybe. I don't know. I mean, he's got 3 missed cuts. The guy's done nothing in a while. But 7,400 for him at that time, I think it's a good value. And he has putted well at times. So we'll see. You got the Harrington, you got dad and son, Padre, who's, I don't know if he won here a long time ago, but I think he was in a playoff a long time ago. And then Scott Harrington, who should be real cheap. He will be that guy that just ends up in the weekend. Webb Simpson. You can make a lot of arguments. I might play him in Showdown. He will put a round together, but man, it is. I feel bad. Like I said, when I first started my show, I was a big Webb Simpson slappy. I mean, the guy at that time was playing really good, and I just really liked him as everything he does. He's still awesome everywhere around. Just the game is just falling apart, and I don't know. It just seems like he's really struggling to get it back. Brandon Wu was actually, I told you I'm betting him. It was in the pool, but then I thought, well, I don't want to tell you guys to play him because I think he can do some things off the tee and ball striking, but again, has struggled with the putter. So I might sprinkle him in. The Hoff, 7,300, that's not a bad. I've only played here twice a long time. I mean, if he's back to kind of just even, 80% of what he was doing a couple years ago, I don't think it's a bad play for 7,300. So I might sprinkle him in. EVR, be more excited. That's really what came down there out of the two. I think you got more upside with EVR, right? It's very boomer bust, but definitely from a showdown play, I said I bet him. You just don't know. I feel like that guy with the irons. I've watched it over and over where he can have some of the most elite irons. He doesn't have to be a good putter because he'll hit it within 3-4 feet every time. And hopefully these greens are a little more receptive than what we saw at the Genesis. That was almost for me almost a little kind of nutty. Adam Long, I mean, I have no problem. You can see he's been kind of, plotting along. Again, I like to play him on my vacation swing, the island courses. I already talked about Shank. You can see we can look at a little bit more. So he's made the last 4 cuts, and he's had, 3 out of 6 made here. Best was a T29, and I already showed you where he's at his best finishes. But you could just say, well, maybe I'll take that long shot on the bet. But I think he's a pretty good play. Grayson Sig. I just felt like he was a more steady golfer, and I've actually been, I played him a little bit in Showdown. Man, it's pretty rough with that putter in the short game, and the driver's been a little wayward. I'm gonna go click on him for you. You'll see what he's been doing. Yeah, this has been pretty rough right here. Irons haven't been bad. So really, it's been the driver, I guess, that's been getting him in trouble. I mean, he had this nice little run right here. So I mean, like I said, I don't know, right? These guys on a dime can just turn. I'm gonna go with Ben Taylor instead and see how that works out. But you can see, been doing pretty good. Everything's showing up, and I guess I like to play him in Showdown. He's paid off at times. Knox. Funny, I didn't actually mark him that I was going to play. He'll be in my player pool a little bit, but I am betting him. Fratelli, no thank you. I like you. I picked him a couple times for the distance, worked out the waste management. The Genesis, I think he was like 1 or 2 under after day 1 and then kind of fell apart. Molinati, this isn't a bad course. I mean, his driver can get wayward, but you look what he's done, a T20, T20, T4, and a miscut here. I mean, this is not a bad fit. Let me go look at the driver real quick. I skipped over him because I'm terrified if he gets wayward here, it's not going to be good. Yeah. Now, this is also distance. He's not long. He's got to keep it in play, but you see the irons popped up, and the putter is what he's always done well, the short game, the putter. So when he fires those irons, you can see what can happen. But, man, I'm a little skeptic of guys that can hit the fairways more than often. Lanto, if you want to do, if you want to get a little different, because like I said, he's had a couple withdrawals. The back's been popping up on him. I don't know, man. I'm all about playing some Lanto, but I'm terrified. I don't want to take a WD. Higgs been playing pretty good golf. I thought about him. Just trying badly. I've talked about him, getting down there in the lows. Just going to scroll past a lot of these guys. I mean, Twave, you want some guy with distance. Hickok showed up at the Genesis at a T29. Eric Cole's been playing pretty decent golf. Again, good guy. He just came off the Corn Ferry. I don't know why I was sitting there like the web. I was going through all the different names of the Corn Ferry there. The Nike Tour, the Web Tour. Ben Martin could squeaky out. He's had 3 made cuts. It's been a while. But, been playing pretty okay golf for that price tag. Pearson Coody just won over in the Corn Ferry. He's got 2 wins there. They haven't seen any on the PGA Tour yet, so I'm going to take a no thank you. Carl Wainwright showed up at Sony. He's had some good days. I'm actually going to go Akshay Bhatia. I think he's maybe off a lot of people's brain. No one's picking him right now, at least what it says. But this guy, especially from a showdown perspective, this guy can play some golf. I almost looked at him as like a little bit like a Sahith Thagala, where he can just go in Fuego. Where did he show up? He had a chance. He was leading. That's before he. So the four net, maybe it was there. Literally, it was like the butterfly. Like he came out the first day and was leading the tournament like 800. Just went lights out. That's what that guy can do. So I know a little bit more about Akshay. That pretty elite. So 6,800. I'm going to play some of him. I'm kind of skimming through some of these guys. Danny Lee, if you want that steady play down here, I think he's a good steady. Get you to the weekend. And then Sadoshi, like I told you, I mean, I play the guy anyways, so why not? Right now he's been playing good golf. Doesn't hit a long, but he's very accurate off the tee. You can see that there. Can get really hot with the putter. When he's won like those first round leaders. Let me go see here. So of course he's won the RBC, which is a great comp course, but that was so long ago. It might have been the Sony. I'm trying to think of the tournament. Maybe it was the Wells Fargo. Like I was playing him a lot of first round leaders, and like I said, two times I hit him in 1 year. That was nice. I mean, it's always nice when you pull a little chunk of cash down the first day just purely on a first round leader. And then that's it. The rest of these guys I'm not touching. So that's my low guys. So if you look at how that kind of balanced out, let's go take a look at this and sum it up for you. So I told you, hey, get it top heavy off the bat. And then, I've got a couple more. So I got like 3 9s, 2 10s. Then you get to the 8s, and I've got only 2 8s. I've got quite a bit of 7s. A lot of 7s, I guess. And then I've got 3 6s. So you can build, literally, if you take just a couple, you can take the top 2 10s, you can take a couple 10s and a 9, and then, work those 7s and 6s easily to put a team together. I got to do a little traveling while I'm trying to get this all together. I don't know if I'll be back in time Wednesday to get you a show out to build to build my favorite lineup and, talk ownership project. If I have time, I'll do it. It might be later Wednesday. But right now, this is what I know I can get done for the Honda. So anyways, let's go through this real quick. So you got Sunjay M, you got Lowry, Kirk, Kuchar, Denny McCarthy, Detry, Svensson, Vegas, Rogers, Griffin, Ricky Bobby Shelton, Aaron Rye, Buckley, Bramlett, Gordon, Riley, EVR, Schenk, Ben Taylor, Akshay Bhatia, Danny Lee, and Sadoshi Gadire. Both those guys at 6,700. That's where I'm looking from a player pool. Let's go wrap this up and get you guys out of here. Okay, as always, if you do me the honor, click that like button, share this with anybody else. If you've not subscribed and you're checking me out for the first time, hit that subscribe button. Typically, I put 2 to 3 shows out a week. This is just, like I said, because it is what it is. I'm going to do this one show. I might be able to get one on Wednesday, but as I mentioned, I'll be traveling. But if I can, I'll do ownership projections. We'll get into the weather. Maybe there's some T flights we were interested in, or pressers, or anything that I see. I'll kind of update from there. Of course, follow me on DFS Golf Guru for any updates on the Twitter sphere. And with that said, all the best of luck to us at the Honda, and I will talk to you guys either on Wednesday. If not, we'll talk at the opening of the API. All right, guys, good luck. Talk to you later. Bye.